Hello, and welcome to the introduction to the Carpentrepreneur Estimate template. This is a template that I created for quoting jobs and keeping track of time and hourly rate. And I've used a lot of different estimating platforms in the past, everything from paper to paid software, and this is my favorite way just because I built it myself. It's customizable to myself. It's great for small jobs. This template, you could probably expand it to do bidding for large jobs, but really it's designed for small jobs like repairs, small remodels, doing some trim, things like that. And it can be used in a variety of trades. It can be used for a handyman, estimating platform, painting, concrete work. If you're in any kind of a subcontractor trade or specialized trade, this should work for you too. And so I'm going to just go through a quick introduction on what it is and how to get it set up. It is run off Google Sheets, so you will need a Google account. So this is in the cloud, so it can be operated off of a browser very easily. It can also be accessed from your phone. If you download the Google Spreadsheets on your phone, you can pull it up on your phone. It's not good for trying to actually do estimates off your phone, but if you are, say, at the hardware store and you forgot your material list and you need to remember what it is that you spec'd for a certain job and you need to buy it while you're there, you can easily pull this up on your phone and use the linking system to go right to the products that you need. And I'll show you how to do that. So to get started, let's just kind of go through and take a look at it. The first page that shows up is the customer demographics page, and you'll see the columns here: worksheet, name, address, city, state, zip, phone, text, email, date, job title, and amount billed. What this is essentially going to be a list of all of the jobs that you create over time. And what it essentially does is it gives you a quick glance at who was the customer, what was their phone number, do they do text messaging, do they, what's the email address, the date, and how much did you bill for the job. And this is data that can be used down the road for a couple of different things. This data could be extrapolated to create mailings. So if you wanted to send, say, a Christmas card to all your customers, you could use this sheet to get that data into some labels that you could print out on your computer. If you wanted to, say, just take a quick glance at how much you billed for a certain time period, let's say for the year, you could organize the data for an entire year and then run a calculation to see how much revenue you made during the year. Over here, you can use it if your database is getting pretty big and you need to go back and find somebody. Instead of going back through all of your worksheets trying to find the person, you could use this as kind of an index where you could go find your job or your person and link to their sheet directly from there. So it's called the customer demographics sheet, and that's just essentially what it is. The next sheet here is the clean template sheet. You do not want to ever delete this sheet or use this sheet to estimate a job. And I'll show you how to proceed with that in just a second. But this is your blank template. You always want to keep it blank. So just to take a quick look, this is where you fill out the customer demographics, a little bit of information on the job. These fields here are nothing you need to do anything with right now. They'll be automatically calculated when you put in your labor and material information down here. This is how did they hear about me? This is just good to track marketing. If they're a referral, if you got them from an advertisement, something like that, it's always good to track how people are hearing about you, and that way you can more effectively advertise in the future. Okay, right here is the timesheet and material cost portion of the template. And this is essentially if you're doing time and material work. Let's say you charge, $60 an hour for your time, and that's how you bill your customer at the end of the day. Is you worked 3 hours for your customer. You can just use this to keep track of that. And then over here is the material cost. If you bought some materials for your job, then you can put that cost into here. And what it will do, if you see this hourly rate here, so this is the first thing you want to set when you're doing an estimate. And you can go ahead and change this on this clean template sheet if this is just kind of your standing hourly rate. So let's say, for instance, you are charging $60 per hour, then you would change that to 60. And down here is the other half of the calculation that you will need to change for all your subsequent spreadsheets. And it's OHP, also known as overhead and profit. So this is going to kind of depend on how you charge in your business. But the way I've always been taught to charge is you've got your hourly rate, and then you add your overhead and profit on top of that, right? So if your hourly rate just includes your overhead and profit, and let's say you charge 60 and that's an all-inclusive number, then you could just change that to 0%. If you're doing $60 an hour and you add your overhead and profit on top of that, then you can insert your overhead and profit percentage on the bottom right there, and that will calculate into your job cost. So let's do a quick example here. Let's say today, 2/10/21, I did some work. I replaced deck boards. I started at 9 a.m. and I ended at 5 o'clock p.m. and that calculates out to 8 hours for the day. So it comes down here. There's your total hours for the day. It's 8 hours. Your hourly rate is $60 an hour, and so your labor is $480. It carries over here and adds that 50% for overhead and profit in for a job cost of $720. So you would bill your customer $720. So your amount billed is $720. That's going to come up here. And your material cost, I have 0 right now, but let's say you had, you bought some deck boards. I don't know, you bought 20 of them at $10 a piece. That's $200. And you had some screws, and that was $20. All right, so your material gets calculated in as well. So now your amount billed is $1,050. Your material was $220. Your total labor hours were 8. And this number here is adjusted dollars per hour. So when you take your labor and the time worked, and you subtract out the materials divided by the amount of time you worked, then here's how much you made per hour, $103.75. And that gives you a profit margin of 33.33%. Good to just keep an eye on your profit margin. especially when you're doing quotes and you're working off of estimates instead of time and material. You will see this number and this profit margin fluctuate because you may estimate 5 hours, but it may take you 7 hours to do the job. Or you may calculate 5 hours and charge for 5 hours, and it may take you only 2 hours to do the job. So you'll see this kind of bounce around, but you want to try and keep it, I like to keep it right around 33%. And so that's the basics of that. We can dive more into more detail about what these numbers mean in another video. And I did the thing I said I shouldn't do, which is put job information on the clean template. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this information that I put in. Just reset it back to 0. The next part of this template is the quote portion. So this is where if you prefer to quote a job and give your customer just one fixed price to do a job, this is where you would do your estimating. By default, it's just called quote 1. You can change it to whatever you like. Quote 1, replace deck boards, like that. And you would put in your labor here, your materials here, supplier links here, and material quantities, units, and costs here. And this will tally up your labor and materials. It'll add in your overhead and profit. You'll see that the rate is at 60, and that's because we set our rate at 60 here. Let's go ahead and do one of those, but I'm going to do it the right way by creating a new worksheet. So what you'll do when you either want to track your time on a new job or estimate a new job, you come down here to add sheet, click the plus button. It gives you a sheet. They're calling this one 65. You want to rename your sheet to whatever job name convention you're using. For this one, I'll just call it Steve Deck Boards. So Steve is one of my customers. I'm replacing some deck boards for him. What you'll want to do is come back here to the customer demographics sheet, and you want to give exactly the way you typed this name into one of your rows here. Steve Deck Boards. Okay. And then what you'll do is go to your clean template. You want to click in this little blank box up in the upper left-hand corner. That's going to highlight the entire sheet. You can right-click and copy it. Go to your new worksheet with your new job on it. Press Control V. Actually, I'll show you. So for some reason, Google doesn't let you just right-click and paste into the spreadsheets. Here. And you want to keep this box selected right here, the A1. So if you try to right-click and paste, it's going to say no, use Control V for paste. So hit Control V, and you'll see that that pasted in. Okay, now here's the sheet you can actually mess around with and work with. Again, I did do some, I did a little bit of data input on this sheet, but you don't actually want to do that. You always want to keep that sheet clean, other than setting your hourly rate and your overhead. And so you'll come over here, and you'll see your hourly rate is still there, your overhead is still there. We go ahead and fill out our customer demographics. His name is Steve Jones, 111 Elm Street. Should probably take the time to do that correctly. I don't actually know the zip code. I have this in here because I like to use text messaging for much of my communications. So this is really just for your reference. You know, what's your job called and what are you doing in your job. All right, we kind of took a look at the timesheet and how that worked already, but let's go down to the quote sheet. So let's say that instead of charging Steve time and material for his deck board replacement job, that I am going to give him a quote. I'm going to give him a quote and charge him off of an estimate. So I'm only going to have one quote. It's pretty simple. I'm going to break down my labor here. Let's see, demo existing deck boards. And then that's going to be 16 foot by 4 foot. Install new deck boards. And haul away old boards to dump. So that's what my labor consists of here. I'm going to take off the old ones. I'm going to put on the new ones. I'm going to haul away the old boards. And I also have some purchasing and delivery to do. In other words, I've got to go pick up the boards, buy them, and get them out to his house. So we're going to demo those existing boards out. That's going to take, let's say that's going to take 3/4 of an hour. So hour quantity 0.75 would be 3/4 of an hour. Let's see, we're going to install the new deck boards. Let's estimate with measuring and cutting and fitting that's going to take about 2 hours. We're going to haul away the old boards. The dump is near our house, so that's going to be an hour. Then we've got to go buy the stuff, load it up, and get it to his house. That's about another hour. Okay, and so as you can see, we now have the broken down labor, and we've got a labor total here, $285. Material description, we're going to put in 2 by 6, I don't know, let's say we're doing redwood. 2 by 6 by 16 redwood. So 2 by 6 by 16 redwood, supplier link. We're going to want to get a price on that redwood. And like most of us will probably just be going to Home Depot. If you're going to a lumber yard, that's fine. You'll just put that information in. But for the purposes of the quote, I want a 2 by 6 by 16 redwood. Let's see if they've got what we want. 2 by 6 by 16 common redwood. There you go. So we're looking at $31.57 per board. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy the URL. I'm just going to drop it right there. Material quantity. Let's see, we've got a 4-foot deck, so we can just do a little bit of math to figure that out. 12 inches is a total of 48 inches, obviously. And let's just divide that by 5.5 inches for a 2 by 6 and 8.73. So let's say we're going to buy 9 boards. We'll have our spaces in there, of course, but for estimating purposes, I like to be a little over than a little short. So we're going to want 9 each. And then the cost is $31.57 plus tax. Let's call it $35 each. And so we've got our material cost there. We're going to want some deck screws. So let's go find some 2.5 inch deck screws. You can choose whatever kind of screws you like, of course. I like these. trim screws. I like how they embed into the wood a little bit, so I'm going to go with these. Looks like we're going to get 100 in a pack. That's going to be more than enough. It's $10 for a pack. And so let's grab the URL, copy it. And we can paste it in there. Control V. We're going to get one pack. It was about $10 plus tax, so let's call it 11 bucks. And I also am going to have a dump fee. And I'm probably going to have around, I don't know, let's call it 2 cubic yards. And I think they charge around $20 a cubic yard, so that's about $40. All right, so now I've got a job cost, and my job cost is, the subtotal is 651. That's labor plus material. And then I add on my overhead and profit percentage, and I've got 976.50 for my cost. And that, you'll see, does not translate up here. That's because this box is linked to this box down here. But what we can do is right here, what you want to do is just leave the equal sign in there, scroll it on down here, and select that box right there. So now you've carried your estimate cost up into the amount billed section, and you give that to your customer and say that job cost $976.50. And you go ahead and collect that money and do the job, or do the job and collect the money. And then what you do when you go do the job, you go ahead and keep track of your time and your actual time and actual materials here. So let's say you did the job tomorrow to 11:21. You did the whole job, and you worked from 9 a.m. Whoops. You want to be sure and put in the AMs and PMs. And let's say you worked till 3 o'clock p.m. And how did we do? 6 hours, and that's where we can compare over here. So it looks like we had 4.75 hours is what we estimated. 6 hours is what it actually took us. And our total material, let's say that was spot on at $366. All right. So this is really good to keep track of, because you can see that your actual job cost, when you actually put in your labor and material, was $1,000 and was $1,089. The amount you billed the customer was $976.50. Is that bad? Did you do badly? That's a subject we can go over later, but you can see here that you made $101.75 per hour, and your profit margin was 25%. So not bad at all. If for some reason this job really went awry and you worked on it for 12 hours, then you can see that information up here. The job cost you $1,600 and you only billed $976, and your material cost and your labor, you made $50 an hour, and your profit margin was in the negative territory. Okay, so at the end of the day, you still made $50 an hour, and there's still money there to pay some of your overhead and profit and take home some money. So it's not a total loss. Your profit margin tanked, but you still did okay for the day. So keeping track of these numbers is important, especially to see how well you're estimating and how profitable each job is being. So that is how it works. I'll do some different videos on doing multiple quotes for one person, splitting quotes, doing comparison quotes, all that kind of stuff. But for now, you can hop back over here and you can see that your customer demographic information carried through. And you can take a quick look at how much you billed for that job. Okay, and so on this sheet, it's good practice to link your data here with the corresponding worksheet. To do that, you just right-click on this worksheet cell here, and you insert a link. It says Sheets in this spreadsheet, and this one is Steve's deck boards. Apply. So as your database grows, this is going to be handy because as you're searching for a particular customer or job, you can find them. And once you get a lot of worksheets, they start going way off the page, and you've got to kind of, can't do it here, but you got to scroll around to find them. This is a quick way to just jump right to your sheet. So that is the intro and basic usage of this template. If you have any questions, just let me know. Over here, I've got a link for tutorials and a contact me link, so you can shoot me a question if you need to. To get a copy of this template, you'll want to go to my website. It is www. And I know you can't see it on your screen, but carpentrenewer.com. And you can get that right here. It's the first thing that pops up. So you put in your name here, just fill out your email address, first name and last name, send me the template. You'll get 2 emails. The first one comes through quick and it says, that you're confirmed as a part of the database. And the email with the link to the spreadsheet takes about 15 minutes or so to arrive. And you can just make a copy, get your copy of it from there. Okay, so hope that helps. Have a good day.